Welcome to Crete. I suppose you're wondering what I, Pontius Pilate, am doing in this insignificant corner of the Roman Empire. I ask myself that question almost every day. My wife Procula never ceases to nag me. I told you so. I told you not to harm that man. You've ruined my life. Her life. What about my life? You know, there was a time when I had a promising political future. I could actually entertain thoughts of becoming Caesar with good cause. But you're not here to listen to my political pipe dreaming. You're here to see the man who sentenced and condemned Jesus of Nazareth. You've probably already formed your opinion of me. But before you close the book on old Pilate, perhaps you should know a bit more. You see, I did have a promising political future. Did you know that I was the youngest senator in the history of the Roman Empire? I was. People were lining up to support me. They knew I could go all the way. I was what you would call a political rock star. And then one day, Tiberius, our Caesar, sent for me. Pontius, he said, I've been watching your career. You have a very bright and promising future. I've asked you here because I'm prepared to offer you a cabinet-level position. Pontius, we need a new governor in Judea. Someone with a strong hand. Someone who can put a lid on those folks and bring some structure and order to that part of the empire. Pontius, would you like to be governor of Judea? Think about it. Take a couple of days, talk to your wife, and then let me know your decision. I didn't really need a couple of days. I knew well about Judea, of course. We had more discussions in the Senate about that particular territory than all of the other Roman territories combined. Apparently, those Jews were a very emotional people. And given to dramatic outbursts. But I realized, looking at my predecessors, that I could certainly do better than that. And I needed a good governorship in my resume. I discussed it with Procula, and she was in favor. She, too, was eager to become the wife of a Caesar. So I accepted, and off we went. In the beginning, it was exciting. You know, there's always something about newness that's attractive. And of course, we were the guests of honor at all the gatherings. The spotlight is fun. Procula loved the attention. But then she began to miss the social life of Rome, the culture. I must admit that I missed the challenge of political debate in the Senate. And also the excitement of shaping the direction of the world. So I decided that my challenge should be to bring some culture to these unschooled Jews, to Romanize them, so to speak. And my first thought was to help build some loyalty to Tiberius. I gave them a gift. I presented them with a God that they could see rather than a God holed up somewhere beyond the sky. I entered the temple, removed their religious symbols, and placed the image of Tiberius in the center of their temple. and a riot broke out. The people tried to storm the temple. My soldiers beat them back, but they kept on coming. I sent for the priests, Annas and Caiaphas. I asked them how we could resolve that situation, bring an end to the rioting, and they said simply to remove the image of Tiberius and to allow the people to worship their God in their way. I followed their advice, and it proved accurate. The people calmed down and life was peaceful. My second idea was some urban renewal. Jerusalem badly needed a new water system. Of course, these Jews didn't know much about that. But I had my engineers design a new system. It would be of great benefit to all of the people. Now, we did need to discover some funding, and I learned that those priests had built quite a surplus in their temple tax. So, of course, I appropriated that. Tiberius would be so pleased that I would be able to do that job, not costing Rome. Another riot broke out. But this time it was peaceful. The people attempted to barricade my soldiers and myself inside the palace by becoming human shields and blocking our exit. I cautioned them they needed to disperse, or we would exit using swords. They didn't move. We started to kill some, and they still didn't move. I realized I couldn't execute the whole city. Besides, that wouldn't go well in Rome. So again, I sent for the priests, and this time we did some negotiating, and they agreed that they would calm the people, provided I would agree to see that they remained in power, and should they need some support, my men would provide it. In exchange for that, of course, they would fund the water system. It was a good bargain. And we developed a very collegial working relationship that benefited them and me until one Friday morning. I remember that day as if it were yesterday. I rose early. I was in the praetorium hearing the day's cases. I'd sentenced some criminals already when a commotion broke out outside the praetorium. My centurion came and said, "Governor, you're needed outside." When I got outside, there were the priests, Annas and Caiaphas, and some more of their ilk. They had the man Jesus. They informed me that they had had a trial the night before. They had found him guilty and condemned him to death, and they needed me to sentence him to death. How about that? Pilate, be a good boy. We want you to kill this man for us. As if I was their lackey. I told them, of course, that I heard cases of a political or criminal nature, that I did not involve myself or Rome in religious disputes, that they would have to attend to that themselves. And they said this was not a religious matter. Indeed, this man was a threat to Rome. He claimed to be king. He was undermining Caesar. So I said, I'll be the judge of that. Bring him in. At that point, they said they couldn't enter the praetorium, and you'll never believe their reasoning. This, of course, was their big religious festival. That much I knew. And they told me that night was their sacred meal. And in order to eat that meal, they had to remain ritually pure. And if they set foot in the praetorium, well, they would be stepping on Roman territory. And they would then be impure, unable to eat their meal. Here, they couldn't set foot on a piece of ground without risk of being impure. But they had no problem killing the man Jesus. Impurity. So I had my men bring him in, and I could tell that the priest had the crowd stirred up. But the people were thinking violent thoughts. I asked Jesus, "Are you a king?" He didn't answer. I told him, "Jesus, I'm not a Jew. It's your people that want you dead. Now I have the power of life or death over you. And if you want me to help you, then you'll have to help me." And I asked him again, "Are you a king?" He said his kingdom was not of this world. As I listened to him, I realized he was no threat to Rome. He harbored no malice toward anyone. He was a gentle man. I suspect he would be a likable chap had I spent some time with him. And my wife was apparently favorably impressed. But the crowd was getting boisterous. They needed something. So I had one of my soldiers go down to the jail and bring out Barabbas. Barabbas was a thief and a murderer. He certainly had no friends among his people. I went back outside and announced to the crowd that in honor of their religious festival, I would release to them one prisoner. I would release to them Barabbas or Jesus. Who would it be? And they screamed, "We want Barabbas." Let me assure you, they wanted Barabbas about as much as they wanted leprosy. But I knew then the priests were in control of that crowd. I desperately wanted to set Jesus free. It seemed to me the man was innocent. So I tried one more strategy. I had him beaten, scourged, beaten badly, and then presented him again to the crowd. Oh, he was a pitiful sight. And again, asked if they wanted his release. And they screamed, "Crucify him!" The decision was clear. You see, my decision was really between Jesus or me. My choice was Jesus or my political career. You see, I couldn't have another riot. Not with all the extra population that was in the city for the festival. I had serious doubts whether my men could even control the crowd, let alone put down an uprising. And of course, if that happened, my political career would be over. So it was clear. It was me or Jesus. And what was one insignificant Jew compared to my political future? And so I signed the order and washed my hands of the whole affair. And that was that. A few months later, Tiberius sent for me. When I got to Rome, Tiberius said, "Pontius, a new religious movement has reached Rome, and I can't seem to stop it. They call themselves Christians, after the man I'm told that you crucified." And with that, he banished me to Crete. When I was interrogating Jesus, I asked him, "What is truth?" I thought that was his question. But it wasn't. You see, the truth is, I had to decide between Jesus and myself. And I chose me. But of course, what is that to you? You shall never have to decide between yourself and Jesus.